The city was alive with noise, lights, and rushing people. But for one man, it was only a blur. His name was Daniel, a tired father who carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. His coat was thin, patched many times, and his shoes had holes at the edges. Every step hurt, but he never slowed down. At his side walked his little daughter, Lily, her small hand clutching his tightly. She looked up at him with bright eyes, full of trust, even though she noticed his face looked pale and his smile was weak. Daniel worked 2 jobs, yet money was never enough. Every morning, before the sun rose, he left home. Every night, long after darkness covered the city, he returned. His back ached, his body begged for rest, but he always saved his last bit of energy for his daughter. He told her bedtime stories, kissed her forehead, and said everything would be fine even when he did not believe it himself. High above the city, hidden in the shadow of clouds, an alien ship floated silently. Inside sat a woman unlike any human. Her skin shimmered faintly like polished stone, and her eyes glowed with intelligence. She was no ordinary alien. She was a CEO, one of the richest leaders in her world. Her name was Serana. For years, she had watched humans from afar, never interfering, never speaking. Her people had strict laws. No alien was allowed to change the natural path of human life. But Serana had grown curious about this struggling man. Something about him pulled her gaze again and again. That night, as Daniel walked with his daughter through the cold streets, Serana's ship followed from above. Her sharp eyes studied every detail. She saw how he carried a small bag with bread and a single apple dinner for both of them. She noticed how he pretended not to be hungry, pushing the apple toward Lily with a soft smile. The girl's face lit up, but Serana could see the father's stomach growling in silence. Why? Serana whispered to herself. Why does he give all to her and keep nothing for himself? Her voice echoed in the empty cabin of her ship. She leaned closer to the screen, watching as Daniel wiped the rain from his daughter's hair with his own sleeve. On the ground, Daniel's steps grew heavy. His body was worn down, but he forced himself to stay strong. He looked at Lily and thought, she deserves better than this. I must keep going. His heart carried more weight than his tired legs ever could. The night deepened and the streets became quieter. They reached their small apartment, the walls cracked, the lights flickering. Daniel tucked Lily into bed, humming softly to calm her. She closed her eyes, clutching a stuffed toy that was missing an ear. Once she was asleep, Daniel sat by the window, staring out at the city lights. His shoulders slumped, his eyes closed for just a moment. And in that silence, Serana felt something stir inside her. She had seen many humans before. Most rushed, most complained, most broke under pressure. But this man, he endured. He carried pain without showing it to the child. He smiled through hunger. He walked through storms with no coat thick enough. And still, he protected her happiness. Serana's heart, long frozen by wealth and power, felt uneasy. She thought of her own world, where comfort and luxury were endless. Yet here was a man with nothing, giving everything. She whispered again, why do humans suffer, yet still smile? Outside, the rain grew heavier. Daniel stood by the broken window, watching it fall. His reflection showed a man close to breaking, but he would never let his daughter see that. Above, Serana kept watching, her hand trembling as it hovered over the controls. She was not supposed to care. She was not supposed to break her silence. Yet tonight felt different than it happened. Daniel staggered, his knees buckling. His body, too tired and too weak, gave out. He fell to the floor, the sound faint but enough to stir Lily awake. The girl rushed to him, shaking his arm, calling his name in fear. Her tiny voice cracked in the silence. Serana's breath caught. Her glowing eyes widened as she saw the child trying with all her small strength to pull her father upright. The scene pierced her like a blade. The laws of her people echoed in her mind, "Do not interfere. Do not reveal yourself." But her heart whispered louder, "How long can you stay silent?" She leaned closer to the screen, her hand gripping the edge. She could feel the war inside, heard the cold rules of her empire against the warm pull of her conscience. For the first time in years, the powerful alien CEO felt powerless, and as Daniel lay on the floor, his daughter crying softly beside him, Serana knew this was only the beginning. Something was about to change, something deep, something dangerous. She whispered into the empty air of her ship, "I cannot turn away from this human. Not anymore." Morning came with gray clouds still hanging over the city. Daniel forced himself to rise, his body aching from yesterday's collapse. His daughter, Lily, had curled beside him on the floor during the night, refusing to leave his side. She woke first, brushing his cheek gently. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked, her voice soft with worry. Daniel smiled, though the smile was weak and forced. "I'm fine, Lily. Don't worry. I just need some air." He rose slowly, hiding the pain that shot through his back. High above, Serana had not left. Her ship hovered silently, invisible to human eyes. She had spent the night watching, unable to turn away after seeing Daniel fall. Now, as the father dressed for work and prepared his daughter for school, Serana's glowing eyes followed every movement. She told herself she was only observing for study, but deep down she knew the truth. Something in this man's struggle had reached inside her in a way no human ever had before. Daniel packed Lily's school bag, slipping in the last piece of bread they had. He told her, "Eat it during lunch, okay?" and pretended he had already eaten breakfast. In truth, he had eaten nothing. Serana saw it all. Her fingers tightened around the armrest of her chair. On her own world, food was endless, wasted by the rich without thought. Here, one small piece of bread was treated like treasure. They walked together through the crowded streets. People rushed by without noticing them, one tired father, one hopeful child. Lily skipped a little, humming to herself, trying to make the morning brighter. Daniel watched her with quiet pride. "She deserves the world," he thought, "and I can only give her crumbs." From her ship, Serana whispered, "He hides his hunger, yet his heart stays full for her." Why? Her voice trembled, as if she was asking herself a question she could not answer. At Lily's school gate, Daniel bent down and kissed her forehead. "Be brave today. Learn well," he told her. She hugged him tightly before running inside. When she looked back, she saw him smiling and waving. She didn't see the moment his smile faded, replaced by exhaustion and sorrow. Serana saw it, though. She saw everything. Daniel walked slowly toward his first job, a warehouse where he lifted heavy boxes all day. His body was not strong enough anymore, but he kept pushing himself. Every dollar mattered. He coughed into his hand, hiding the sound when others passed. The manager barked orders at him without mercy. Serana's eyes narrowed at the sight. On her world, no leader dared speak to her without respect. Yet here, this human bent his back under cruel voices and never fought back for the sake of his daughter. Hours passed. His hands grew blistered, his arms shook, but he never stopped. Serana leaned closer to her screen, whispering, "How can one man endure so much?" For the first time, she felt shame. She had more wealth than entire nations, yet she had never carried such weight. When night fell, Daniel collected Lily from school and walked her home. They passed a shop with bright shoes in the window. Lily's eyes lingered on them. Her own shoes were torn, the soles held together by tape. Daniel noticed and gave a gentle laugh, saying, "One day, we'll buy you the best shoes in the city." His voice was light, but Serana could see his hands trembling in his pockets, holding back the pain of not being able to give her even that back at their small apartment. Daniel set down a single meal, half a bowl of rice. He pushed it toward Lily and said he wasn't hungry. She looked at him with suspicion, but he nodded with a tired smile until she began to eat. Serana's chest tightened. She pressed her hand against her heart, feeling it beat faster. This father was starving himself to keep his child alive in the quiet of her ship. Serana whispered, "Why do humans give until nothing is left? Why do they smile while breaking inside?" Her voice shook, almost as if she feared the answer. Then it happened again. Daniel, too tired, too hungry, leaned against the wall and slid down to the floor. Lily rushed to his side, clutching his arm. "Dad, please, don't leave me," she cried. Her small voice cracked the silence. Serana rose from her seat. For the first time, she stepped closer to the control panel. Her hands hovered over it, her breath uneven. The law of her people echoed in her head. Do not interfere. Do not reveal yourself. Let humanity walk its own path. Yet her heart cried out louder. How much longer can you stay silent? She reached toward a small device on her ship, one that could send help without being seen. Her fingers trembled. If she pressed it, she would cross a line her people had drawn long ago. She stood frozen between two worlds, duty and compassion below. Daniel closed his eyes, whispering to his daughter, "I'm okay. Lily, I'll be fine." His voice was weak, but still he comforted her instead of himself. The girl buried her face against him, tears rolling down. Serana's heart cracked. She clenched her jaw, whispering to herself, "This man, this human, he is stronger than I have ever been." And as the night deepened, she made her choice. She would not turn away again. She would act. Even if it meant breaking the silence of an entire empire. The night was heavy with silence, broken only by the sound of rain dripping through the cracks of the old apartment roof. Daniel lay weak on the floor, his back against the wall, his breath shallow. His daughter Lily sat beside him, holding his hand tightly with both of hers. Tears streaked her cheeks, but her small body trembled with determination. She refused to let go. "Dad, you'll be okay," she whispered, her voice shaking. She tried to sound brave, but her eyes glistened with fear. She was too young to understand the weight of hunger. The pressure of endless work, the exhaustion that had finally crushed him. But she understood one thing. She could not lose him. Above, Serana's glowing eyes never blinked. From her hidden ship, she watched the small girl kneel beside her father. Something about the child's tiny figure, fragile yet unyielding, sent a shiver through her. On her own world, children of the wealthy were guarded by servants and machines. They never knew struggle. But this human child, she was facing it alone, with no fear in her eyes, only love. Daniel coughed weakly and tried to smile. "Don't cry, Lily," he said softly. "Your smile makes me strong." His voice cracked, but he forced himself to lift his hand and brush away her tears. Lily sniffled, then nodded quickly. "Then I'll smile. Dad, I'll be strong for you too." Her small words hit Serana like a blade. She leaned closer to the screen, whispering, even in the face of pain, they give each other hope. A child carries more courage than warriors I have known. Daniel tried to rise, but his legs gave out. Lily gasped and quickly slipped under his arm, trying to lift him, though she was far too small. Her thin frame shook as she pushed against him. "I can help you, Dad," she said, her little voice straining. She pulled, tugged, and pushed, refusing to stop. Serana's chest tightened as she watched. The girl's strength was not in muscle, but in spirit. Every action screamed one truth. She would not let her father fall alone. Serana whispered again, "Why does this child fight so hard? What gives them such fire?" Minutes passed, and Lily finally managed to drag Daniel toward his bed. She placed a pillow beneath his head and covered him with a torn blanket. Her breathing was heavy, but her eyes burned with determination. "Rest, Dad. I'll take care of you." She sat beside him, holding his hand, refusing to sleep. Sarana could not move her gaze away. She remembered the law of her people. Do not interfere. Do not reveal yourself. Yet watching this child stirred something she had buried long ago memories of when she herself had been young, before wealth and power turned her heart to stone. She remembered standing by her own father as he made hard choices for their family. But she had never faced true hardship. This child was stronger than she had ever been. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. The storm grew louder, rattling the fragile windows of the apartment. Lily held her father tighter, whispering words of comfort. She told him stories he had once told her about heroes, about adventures, about better days to come. Her voice was small, but it carried through the darkness like a candle flame. Sarana's hands shook as she pressed them against the glass screen of her ship, as if trying to reach through it. "This child," she murmured. "She is the reason he survives. She is the reason he endures, and still I am told to watch in silence." Daniel stirred, opening his eyes briefly. "You're a brave girl, Lily," he whispered. "Stronger than me." She shook her head quickly. "No, Dad, you're the strongest. You never give up. And I won't give up on you." Her words were firm, filled with a fire beyond her years. Sarana turned away for a moment, her throat tight, her vision blurred. She had not cried in years, not since she had become one of the most powerful voices in her empire. Yet here she was, her heart cracking under the sight of one child's love for her father. She walked across her ship's cabin, pacing in frustration. The rules of her people echoed again. Silence, distance, non-interference. But the image of Lily's small arms straining to hold up her father replayed in her mind again and again. It would not leave her back in the apartment. Lily finally leaned against her father's chest, still holding his hand. Exhaustion pulled at her, but she fought to keep her eyes open. "I'll stay awake, Dad. I'll protect you," she whispered. Before sleep finally claimed her, Daniel, barely conscious, stroked her hair weakly and whispered, "You already do, my little one." Sarana closed her eyes, her heart pounding. She whispered into the quiet of her ship, "If this child can break rules to protect her father, why can't I break mine?" The storm raged outside, but inside the small room, a fragile peace held, a peace born from the unshakable strength of a child. And far above, an alien CEO stood trembling, knowing her silence was reaching its end. The storm had passed, but the night left its mark. Daniel woke with his body sore, his throat dry, and his chest heavy. He tried to rise from the bed, but his strength failed him again. His daughter, Lily, still slept beside him, her small hand wrapped around his arm as if guarding him from the world. Daniel looked at her and forced a smile. For her, I must keep standing, he thought. High above, Sarana stood in silence, watching. Her mind had not rested. All night she replayed the image of Lily dragging her father, of Daniel whispering words of comfort while he was the one close to collapse. The rules of her empire burned inside her mind. Do not interfere. Observe only. But her heart was louder now. Each beat told her that silence was cruelty. She walked to a small chamber in her ship. Inside were devices, tools that could heal, feed, and protect. She touched one, a small cube, glowing faint blue. With a press, it could provide warmth and energy, enough food to keep the humans alive for weeks. She held it in her hand, staring at the light. To give this to Daniel would mean breaking everything she had sworn to follow. But to withhold it felt worse than any punishment her empire could bring. Meanwhile, Daniel struggled to his feet. He searched the kitchen shelves, but they were nearly empty. A half bag of rice, a cracked jar of beans, not enough. His stomach growled, but he pushed it down. "Lily first," he whispered. He cooked what little he had, pretending it was plenty. When Lily woke, he set the food before her with a smile. "Eat, my brave girl." Lily frowned, looking at him. "But Dad, what about you?" He waved his hand, pretending to be full. "I ate earlier. Don't worry about me." She didn't believe him, but she took small bites, saving some for him anyway. Serana watched this exchange with shaking hands. She could not endure it anymore. She whispered, "Forgive me, ancestors. I will not let them break." With a swift command, she activated her ship's cloak and released the cube. It floated down silently, hidden from all eyes, until it landed just outside Daniel's apartment door. Moments later, Lily heard a faint sound. "Dad, something's outside." Daniel frowned, confused. He opened the door and saw the glowing cube resting on the ground. He picked it up carefully, turning it over in his hands. It was warm, almost alive. "What is this?" he murmured. The cube lit up brighter, releasing a gentle hum. Suddenly, warmth filled the room, pushing away the damp chill. A second later, food materialized on the small table: bread, fruit, even warm soup. Daniel stepped back in shock. Lily gasped and clapped her hands. "Magic!" she cried. Daniel stared, his eyes wide. He touched the bread, half afraid it would vanish. But it was real. He broke a piece, gave it to Lily, and watched her eat with joy. Then, for the first time in days, he took a bite himself. The taste made tears sting his eyes. Where did this come from?" he whispered back from above. Serana exhaled a shaky breath. Her heart raced. She had broken the rule. She had given them what they needed. Yet, instead of fear, she felt relief. Watching Daniel eat, watching Lily laugh with food in her hands, filled her with a strange peace. Daniel, however, was torn. He looked at the cube again. "This isn't normal," he muttered. Someone left this here." His mind filled with questions, but his body was too tired to fight them. He only knew he had to use this gift to keep his daughter alive. That night, the warmth of the cube filled the small apartment. Daniel and Lily slept with full stomachs for the first time in weeks. Lily curled up, whispering, "Thank you, whoever you are." But Serana's peace did not last long. Alarms on her ship flashed red. A cold voice echoed through the cabin. "Unauthorized interference detected. Alien code violation. Report yourself immediately." Her people had noticed. Serana froze. Her superiors would demand answers. They would punish her for breaking the silence. But she clenched her fists and looked back at the screen, at Daniel and Lily sleeping in peace. She whispered firmly, "Let them come. I will not regret this." The cube glowed steadily in the apartment below, a secret gift from a silent watcher who had finally chosen to act. Daniel did not know who had helped him. Lily only knew that someone cared. And far above, Serana stood ready to face whatever came next because for the first time in years, she felt her silence beginning to shatter. The days that followed felt like a miracle to Daniel and Lily. The strange glowing cube gave them warmth, food, and comfort. For the first time in months, Daniel's stomach was not empty. For the first time in years, Lily slept without shivering. But even as their apartment filled with hope, Daniel's heart carried a heavy question. Who had given them this gift? He wanted to believe it was chance, a blessing from above. But part of him knew the truth: someone was watching. Above the clouds, Serana still observed silently. She felt relief each time she saw them eat. Yet her relief was mixed with fear. Her empire had already noticed her actions. The warning from her superiors echoed in her mind. Do not interfere with humans. Do not alter their path. If she was discovered again, she would face punishment. Still, when she saw Lily's laughter. When she saw Daniel's tired shoulders finally relax, she told herself, "It is worth everything, but peace never lasts." One morning, Daniel arrived at the warehouse where he worked. He was already nervous the manager had been growing colder toward him. As Daniel stepped inside, he was called to the office. The manager's voice was sharp. "Daniel, you're finished here. We don't need weak men slowing us down." Daniel froze. "Please, I need this job." "My daughter," the man cut him off with a sneer. "Not my problem. You can collect your last pay at the desk. You're done." Daniel's chest tightened. His hands shook, but he held back his anger. He could not afford to fight. He turned silently and walked out. The streets blurred as he stumbled. The letter of dismissal crumpled in his fist. From her ship, Sarana saw everything. Her jaw clenched. She slammed her hand against the controls. He gives everything, and they throw him away. Her glowing eyes burned with fury. On her world, no one would dare treat her with such cruelty. Yet this human endured it in silence, because he had no choice. Daniel reached the school to pick up Lily. He smiled as she ran to him. But his smile was cracked, hollow. She noticed at once. "Dad, what's wrong?" she asked. He knelt, forcing himself to stay calm. "Nothing, my brave girl. Let's go home." He would not tell her yet. He could not take away her hope. That night, when Lily was asleep, Daniel sat by the window with his head in his hands. His heart pounded with despair. The cube gave them food, but without work, how long could they survive? He hated himself for depending on something he did not understand. He hated himself for failing his daughter again. Sarana leaned closer to the screen, whispering, "Why do you not cry out? Why do you carry this alone?" She could see the storm inside him, yet even in his darkest hour, he kept his pain hidden from Lily. That silence, that quiet strength, broke something in her. The following evening, the streets were not safe. Daniel and Lily walked home through a narrow alley when a group of rough men stepped out of the shadows. Their eyes were sharp, their smiles cruel. "Hey," one of them called. "Nice cube you've got there." He pointed at the glowing device in Lily's small bag. Daniel's heart stopped. He pulled Lily behind him. "Leave us alone," he said firmly, though his voice trembled. The men laughed. "Or what? You'll fight us. You look half dead already." They stepped closer. Sarana's breath caught as she watched from above. Her hands hovered over her controls. She was not supposed to reveal herself, but the sight of those men surrounding Daniel and Lily made her chest burn with rage. Daniel stood his ground. His body was weak, his fists unsteady, but he would not move. "You will not touch her," he said, his voice louder now. The men laughed again, circling him like wolves. Lily clung to his arm, eyes wide with fear. Sarana could no longer bear it. She pressed her hand down hard on the panel. A pulse of invisible energy surged from her ship. The ground trembled, the alley walls cracked, and the men stumbled back in terror. They looked around wildly, sensing a force beyond their understanding. One screamed, "Let's get out of here!" And they ran into the night. Daniel stood frozen, his arms around Lily. He looked up at the sky, breathless. He did not see anything, but he felt something. Someone was there. Lily whispered, "Dad." Someone protected us. Sarana sank back into her chair, her body shaking. She had revealed too much. Her superiors would surely know now. But she could not regret it. She whispered fiercely, "I will not watch them fall. Not again." Daniel carried Lily home, his heart pounding. He had no words for what happened, only questions. Who was helping them? Why? And how long could this strange miracle last before the world noticed? In his small apartment, as Lily drifted to sleep, Daniel stood at the window once more. His reflection looked back at him, a tired man, but one still standing. He clenched his fist and whispered, "Whoever you are, thank you." Far above, Serana placed her hand on the glass screen, her eyes glowing softer now. She whispered back, though he could not hear, "You are not alone anymore." But deep within her ship, alarms stirred once more. The Empire would not ignore her actions. The breaking point had come, and this time there would be no turning back. The night after the alley incident, Daniel could not sleep. He sat by the window, staring at the glowing cube on the table. His mind raced with questions. Who had given it to them? Who had shaken the ground and sent those men running? It felt impossible. Yet deep in his heart, he knew someone powerful was watching. Someone unseen, yet close. Lily, asleep in bed, dreamed peacefully. She trusted the mysterious protector, whoever it was. But Daniel felt torn. He was grateful, yet afraid. He had lived his whole life believing he was alone, carrying his burdens with no help. Now, a hidden force had stepped into his life, breaking all his rules of survival. "And still," he whispered, "if you are out there, why me?" High above, Serana walked the length of her ship, her steps echoing in the silent cabin. Her Empire's warnings had grown sharper. Messages flashed across her control panel. Violation detected. Stand down. Return for judgment. Each one was a chain, pulling her back to the cold, distant laws of her people. Yet when she looked at the screen showing Daniel and Lily, the chains broke inside her. She pressed her hands against the console, her glowing eyes fierce. "Enough. I will not hide behind rules while they suffer. If I must pay for this, I will." The following evening, Daniel walked Lily home from school again. He carried her bag on his shoulder, smiling at her little stories about the day, but his body was heavy, his steps slow. The cube had given them food, but it could not erase his exhaustion, nor the shame of losing his job. Still, he pretended everything was fine. As they entered their neighborhood, shadows moved again. This time, more men appeared rough, angry, and armed with knives. Word had spread about the glowing cube. They wanted it. "Hand it over," one shouted, stepping forward. "Give us the device, and maybe we'll let you walk." Daniel's heart pounded. He pulled Lily behind him, his fists clenched, though his arms shook. "Stay back," he warned. His voice was steady, but inside he knew he was too weak to fight them all. The men closed in, circling like wolves. Lily clung to him, her eyes wide with fear. Above, Serana's heart thundered. She could not hold back this time. She activated the landing system, her ship glowing as it broke through the clouds. The ground shook as the craft descended, cloaked in shimmering light. The gang froze, their eyes wide. What is that?" One whispered, stumbling back. The ship touched down at the edge of the street, its surface gleaming like molten silver. A door opened, and light poured out. From within, Serana stepped forward. Her tall figure glowed against the night, her skin like polished stone, her eyes shining like fire. She was both terrifying and beautiful, unlike anything the men had ever seen. Daniel shielded Lily, staring in shock. What are you?" he whispered. Serana's gaze swept over the men. Her voice rang out, calm yet sharp as steel. "Leave them now." The men laughed nervously at first, but when her eyes glowed brighter and the ground beneath them trembled, fear overtook them. One by one, they dropped their knives and fled into the darkness, shouting in terror. Soon, only Daniel, Lily, and Serana remained in the street. Daniel's chest heaved. He held Lily tightly, his body trembling. He looked at Serana with disbelief. You were the one watching us," he said softly. Serana stepped closer. her glowing eyes softening as they fell on Lily. "Yes," she admitted. I have broken the silence I was sworn to keep." But I could not turn away any longer. Daniel shook his head, unable to process it. Why us? We are nothing." Serana knelt slowly, bringing herself closer to their level. She looked directly into his tired eyes. "You are not nothing," she said firmly. "You are stronger than anyone I have ever known. Even in hunger, even in despair, you protected her. You gave all that you had. And this child." She glanced at Lily, whose small hand clutched her father's sleeve. "This child carries the fire of 1,000 warriors. You are not nothing, you are everything." Lily blinked up at her with wonder. "Are you an angel?" she asked. For the first time in years, Serana's lips curved into a faint smile. "No, little one. I am no angel. I am only someone who can no longer stay silent." Daniel's knees felt weak. He wanted to speak, to question, to demand answers, but his voice failed him. All he could whisper was, "Why risk yourself for us?" Serana stood tall again, her eyes burning with both defiance and truth. "Because the world you carry on your shoulders is heavier than any empire. Because silence in the face of suffering is the greatest sin of all." At that moment, the alarms on her ship blared louder. A voice echoed from within. "Serana of the High Council, you have revealed yourself. You will answer for this." Daniel looked up, confused and afraid. Serana turned her gaze back to him and Lily. "The time has come," she said quietly. "I have chosen your side. Whatever comes next, I will stand with you." The night air trembled around them. For Daniel and Lily, life had just changed forever. And for Serana, the witness had finally become the protector. The street was still trembling from Serana's landing. Daniel stood frozen, holding Lily close as the alien CEO towered before them. Her glowing eyes softened at the sight of the small child, but the alarms from her ship thundered above. The voice of her empire boomed across the cabin speakers. "Serana of the High Council, you have broken the law. You will answer for your crime." Daniel's breath caught. He looked up at Serana, fear spreading across his face. "They're coming for you," he whispered. He did not understand her world, but he could feel the danger in those words. Serana raised her head high, her voice calm yet powerful. "Let them come," she said. "I have hidden for too long. Tonight, I will not be silent." The sky above split with light. A second ship descended, larger, sharper, and colder than Serana's vessel. Its metallic wings cut through the clouds like blades. Daniel shielded Lily's eyes, but Serana stood firm, her hands clasped behind her back. She knew this moment was inevitable. A projection flickered to life in the air, showing the stern faces of alien counselors. Their voices blended, cold and merciless. "Serana, you were chosen to lead with wisdom. Instead, you have revealed yourself to a primitive world. You risk their balance. You risk ours." Daniel looked at her in confusion. "Primitive," he whispered, insult cutting deep into his pride. But Serana raised a hand to quiet him. She stepped forward, her voice ringing out like thunder. "You call them primitive, but I have seen more strength in this father and child than in all our councils combined. He starves, yet he feeds her. He falls, yet he rises again. She is small, yet she carries the strength to hold him when he cannot stand. If this is weakness, then tell me what is strength." The counselors' faces hardened. "You have let emotion cloud your judgment," one sneered. "They are fragile. They break easily." Serana's eyes glowed brighter, her voice shaking with passion. "No, they bend, but they do not break. They suffer, but they do not surrender. Even in the darkest night, they carry light for each other. Is that not the very essence of strength? Daniel stared at her in awe. He had never heard anyone speak of him with such fire. Lily peeked from behind his arm, whispering, "She's fighting for us, Dad." The counselors grew restless, their voices sharp. "Enough. Return with us, Serana, or you will be stripped of your power." For a long moment, silence filled the street. Serana's gaze shifted to Daniel and Lily. She saw the man's tired face, the girl's determined eyes. Something inside her settled. She turned back to the council, her voice clear. "Then strip me. Take my throne, my wealth, my power. None of it matters. I will not return to silence while these lives cry out for hope." The counselors froze, stunned by her defiance. The projection flickered with anger, then disappeared. The second ship pulled back into the clouds, retreating but not gone. The threat was far from over, but Serana no longer feared it. Daniel stepped forward, still holding Lily's hand. His voice trembled. "Why? Why risk everything? For us?" Serana looked down at him, her expression soft. "Because your life is not small. You think yourself nothing, but I have seen you carry more than empires. Your strength is quiet, but it shakes the stars." She glanced at Lily and smiled faintly. "And this child? She is proof that humanity's future burns brighter than any law that would silence it." Lily tugged at Serana's hand with her tiny fingers. "Then don't just watch us," she said softly. Stand with us." For the first time in centuries, Serana's heart felt light. She knelt down, meeting the child's gaze. "You are right," she whispered. "I will not watch any more. I will walk beside you." Daniel's throat tightened. He looked at this alien, this stranger who had risked her life, her power, her entire world for him and his daughter. He whispered hoarsely, "Then you are not just our protector. You are family." The word struck Serana deeper than any law. She had been a ruler, a CEO, a leader of wealth and power, but never family. Her eyes glistened, and she lowered her head. "Then family I shall be." The night grew quiet. The danger had not ended, the Empire would not forget, but something new had begun. In the small corner of a forgotten city, an alien and a human family had forged a bond stronger than law, stronger than fear, and as the first light of dawn touched the horizon, Serana whispered into the morning air, "The silence is broken. The stars will hear the truth of humanity."